Your choir?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, how do you say that?
Haug.
Haug.
Spring has now unwrapped the flowers, day is fast reviving, life in all her growing powers toward the light is striving. Gone the iron touch of cold, winter time and frost.
Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Society. My name is I'm the Reverend Jim Fody. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm your assistant sabbatical minister. Today I'm joined by my colleague, the Reverend Kelly Asprooth-Jackson, and by the worship team of Drew Collins, Heather Thorpe, Stephen Gregorius, and Daniel Carnes, as well as those volunteer greeters, ushers, hospitality providers, and lay ministers who make our Sundays happen. Welcome and thanks to our Cherub Choir and Choristers, our guest pianist, FUS member Sue Haug, and guest vocalist and teen choir alumnus Emmett Thom. Thom? No one told me, I'm sorry. And thank you to the parents and other supporters of our children's choir for their support of these young singers all year. At First Unitarian Society, we question boldly, listen humbly, grow spiritually, act courageously, and love unapologetically. If you are visiting today, welcome. We are so very glad you are with us. If you would like more information about First Unitarian Society, please stop by the welcome table located in the Commons. And we hope you'll be able to stay and join us for coffee hour immediately after the service, also in the Commons, which is the area out there. For those connecting with us virtually today, we are glad you are with us as well, and we hope you are able to take a moment to watch the announcement slides after today's service to learn about upcoming programs and activities. A reminder that today is our flower communion service. You will hopefully already have a flower that you either arrived with or received on your way in. But if you would still like one so that you can participate in the ritual later in the service, they are still available on a table near the center doors. This afternoon at 12:30 is our spring parish meeting. All members are invited and strongly encouraged to attend in person or online in order to participate in the democratic governance of our congregation. And a reminder that our summer service schedule begins next weekend with one service each Sunday at 10 a.m. from Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day weekend in September. So no Saturday service, come at 10 next Sunday. And now I invite you to join me in a moment of silence to center ourselves and bring ourselves fully into this time as we join together once again in community. We speak so often of brokenness in religious life. Let us speak today of wholeness.
You are welcome here, all of you, every part of you, beautiful, just the way you are.
Here you do not need to be something more or something less. No holding back, no hiding.
No exerting yourself, no trying to do more or be more. You have inherent.
Sitting next to you, or to the children, or to anyone.
You don't have to try to be witty or more quiet or more outgoing. You are beautiful. Every part of you, beautiful just the way that you are.
You do not need to change anything about yourself to be welcome here. Your skin, your hair, your
extraordinary. Each and every one of you different. And now I invite you to rise in all the ways that we do and join me in the words of aspiration for the kindling of our chalice flame. We light this chalice in memory of the courage of those who have struggled for freedom, the persistence of those who struggled for justice, and the love of those who built beloved communities to carry on the light of love. And now I invite you to turn to those around you and greet each other with signs of love and peace.
invite you to sing with me our opening hymn, number 63, Spring Has Now Unwrapped the Flowers. Spring has now unwrapped the flowers, day is fast reviving, life in all her growing powers, toward the light is striving, but the iron touch of cold, winter time and frost time, working through the mold, now make up for lost ground. Good and bad and winter long, summer and leisure, now stirring green and strong, finding growth and pleasure. All the world with beauty fills, both the green enhancing. Flowers make glee among the hills, set the meadows dancing.
In June 1923, 101 years ago, Norbert Čapek and his wife Maya created the flower ceremony in the Unitarian congregation in Prague. Each member was asked to bring a single flower to the service, which began with the flowers being placed in a large vase in the middle of the hall. As explained in his sermon that day, the flowers symbolize the members, each unique and free, joining together in fellowship and accepting each other regardless of their differences. At the end of the service, each member was asked to take one flower just as it comes, without making any distinction where it came from and whom it represents, or to confess that we accept each other, to confess that we accept each other as siblings without regard to race, class, or other distinction, acknowledging everybody as our friend who is human and wants to be good.
Maya Čapek introduced the flower communion to the United States in the spring of 1940 at the First Parish Church in Cambridge. It is now widely celebrated by Unitarian Universalist congregations everywhere. Soon after her husband's death, Maya Čapek wrote about what the flower ceremony meant to him. She wrote, "His only motivation was to stress and bring about human fellowship. As a symbol, he used flowers because, in the name of a flower, no wars were ever waged. The flowers are used as symbols of the gifts which each person can make to the church, and through the church to other persons. The exchange of flowers means that I shall walk without reservation with anyone, regardless of social status or former religious affiliation, as long as they are ready and willing to go along in search of truth and service."
And so we offer you now an opportunity to participate further in the shared gifts of our religious movement. Some of us brought with us flowers from home today. Others hopefully had a chance to select a flower on their way into the auditorium. There remain flowers to share just outside the doors, if you still would like one. In a moment, we will have some music, and you'll be invited to come forward and contribute your flower to one of the two vessels up here in the front. And there is a third vessel at the rear of the balcony for those seated up there. We haven't forgotten about you.
This gathering of flowers is meant to symbolize the beauty we create together by joining with one another in spiritual fellowship. Near the close of the service, we will process forward again so that you can select a flower to take home with you, one you did not bring. This symbolizes the way in which our different ideas, identities, and experiences, shared within the bonds of mutuality and right relationship, make each other's lives richer and more meaningful. Please, come forward now. A blessing based on the words of Norbert Chapek. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and gifts, to be one in desire and affection, and devotion to good and beauty. May they also remind us of the need for sharing and cooperation in our common quest for understanding. May we cherish friendship and community as one of life's most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage or separate us. May we realize that the efforts of all of us, the goodwill of all of us, are needed to heal and transform our troubled world. May we be strengthened by the knowledge that one Spirit, the Spirit of love, unites us. And may we endeavor together for a more joyful life for all. Amen.
Oh, you can make the world so bright, and you can turn the day from night, and share your gifts and spread your light, and learn what you know. Now let's rise in body and/or in spirit and sing another hymn, number 64. Oh, give us pleasure in the flowers today, verses 1 and 4. Oh, give us pleasure in the flowers today, and give us not to think so far away as the uncertain harvest keep us near.
The world is loud. The part of our planet that most human beings live on, the top surface of the Earth's crust, is full of noise. The sounds of wind and water, of animals moving about and calling to each other. The innumerable sounds created by human beings and all our artifice. However, out beyond our planet's atmosphere, into the vast gaps between the stars, which compose most of the cubic footage of the cosmos, it is a different story. Waves and particles still fly about. It is beautifully, marvelously complicated up there. But the human ear is evolved for our environment down here, such that there is very little for us to literally hear in space. In a sense, the world is loud, but the universe is quiet. So now, in order that we might commune for a time with that vast cosmic silence, let us spend this moment together, resting in reverent quiet. Amen. The Flower Communion service is a time at which we celebrate the gifts of community, the meaning and the power in our coming together. It is also a time for us to reflect on how we come together, how we relate to each other, what our shared culture of connection is or ought to be. Towards this end, I am going to tell you a little bit of the story of a scientist named Vera Rubin. I am intentionally not going to tell you up front why I think her story has bearing on our means of association. Indeed, as I hope you will see by the end, her life offers multiple, competing, and even conflicting lessons for us about community and the valuing of each individual within a community, both at the level of a congregation and of a larger society. So I'm asking you to set aside your wondering about why I am inviting you into Vera's story with me, and to trust that all of this is going somewhere. Vera Rubin was born in 1928. Like so many astronomers, her story from early childhood was one of fascination with stars and the night sky. She built a rudimentary telescope out of cardboard with the help of her father and began to record her observations of meteors. She proved an excellent student and named Maria Mitchell as one of her early inspirations. You might already know of Maria, or maybe you've heard me talk about her before. She was a 19th century astronomer who, among other distinctions, discovered the comet C1847T1, colloquially known as Miss Mitchell's Comet, was one of the founding members of the faculty at Vassar College and the first woman to serve as a professor of astronomy at any modern academic institution. She was also, of course, a Unitarian. Perhaps in part because of the connection with Maria Mitchell, Vera Rubin attended Vassar College as an undergraduate. It was then still an all-women's institution. Her high school guidance counselor tried to dissuade her from studying science and towards almost anything else. Art, perhaps? As long as you stay away from science, he said, you should be all right. Vera did not take his advice, and during her time at Vassar, she was the sole undergraduate major in astronomy. That pattern of persistence despite professional discouragement would be a hallmark of her career. Vera's first choice for graduate school was Princeton University, but her application was rejected on the grounds that the school still then did not admit women. So she got a master's at Cornell instead. During her studies there, she engaged in original research that demonstrated a new and highly controversial subject in astronomy, what has come to be known as the supergalactic plane. This is basically our understanding that galaxies are not evenly distributed across space, but instead show a clustering pattern. Her efforts to present the paper on her findings at the American Astronomical Society met significant resistance, perhaps because of her gender all by itself, but especially because she was visibly pregnant during the proceedings. She was eventually able to present the paper, but received a very critical response, and her work was never published. Within only a small number of years, before she had even completed her PhD, that idea that was too radical to be given serious consideration when she offered evidence for it had become generally accepted in the field. Work by long-established, better-known, and male astronomers had won the argument while she had been shut out of it. After attaining her doctorate and beginning her academic career in earnest, the barriers to her work persisted. Her application to make use of the Palomar Observatory was jeopardized by the fact that that facility had been so entirely the province of men since its construction that it had no women's restroom on premises. So, she created her own and became the first woman astronomer to work there. It was around this time that she began a long and fruitful collaboration with Kent Ford, another scientist who had developed an advanced spectrometer for measuring the composition of astrological phenomena. Rubin and Ford were initially interested in using it to study quasars, the then newly discovered super bright cores of certain galaxies that are created by massive black holes sucking in huge amounts of interstellar gas at a very high speed. They had a promising tool for this task, but applying it to the quasar question required large amounts of time spent on extreme long-range telescopes, a very limited resource that mostly went to people who were better positioned to command it. It seemed like everyone wanted to work on quasars, and the space available to a woman of no particular renown was discouraging. So Vera set out strategically to identify a problem that she could focus on that would fall into the narrow band of possibility left open to her by all of the biases in her field and society. As she put it, hopefully a problem that people would be interested in, but not so interested in that people would bother me before I was done. Working with Ford, she began to study the rotation of the Andromeda galaxy, much closer to our home than those distant quasars, and therefore less dependent on competition for resources. It was then already known that galaxies rotate, but what she found is that galaxies do not rotate in the way that everything then known about them and about gravitational physics said that they ought to. She observed that Andromeda and other galaxies that she later studied, as well as others, rotates evenly. Objects in the extreme outer edge move at the same rate as those closer to the center. And this whole thing spins at a speed that cannot be accounted for by the gravity provided by the stars that make it up alone. On paper, based on the facts in evidence and the scientific laws at play, the whole arrangement ought to just fly apart like dishes launched off of a turntable spun around too fast. Vera Rubin's meticulous work in an area of astronomy that few others were interested in pointed to a revolutionary concept in our understanding of the universe that we inhabit: dark matter. Still poorly understood and occasionally contested, this is a hypothetical form of matter which appears not to interact with light or the electromagnetic field. It is studied and observed by studying astronomical phenomena which cannot be explained from the mass of the visible matter involved. Dark matter is thought to constitute roughly 85% of all of the matter in the known universe. When Vera Rubin died in 2016, she was well regarded in her field, particularly by other women astronomers whom she had inspired and in some cases mentored. She had had a distinguished career, won a number of accolades, and worked for multiple prestigious institutions. And, according to all the accounts I've been able to find, she had done work that she found interesting and valuable. Her obituary in the New York Times credited her as ushering in a Copernican scale change in our understanding of the universe around us. Vera did all this, led the professional life that she did despite significant obstacles, both hard barriers, like her rejection from academic institutions, and softer, more insidious hurdles, like the discouraging advice of her guidance counselor and the experience of having her work received but largely ignored before male colleagues came along to say much the same thing to a fairer hearing. So we come here to the first possible lesson for the practice of community that we might draw from Vera Rubin's story. How, through pluck and determination, talent and ingenuity, a person may overcome great obstacles to their inclusion and participation in a group or a society. They may yet still achieve great things and the world be made a better place for it. In this view on Vera's life, which is true enough on its own, exclusion, bias, and other patterns that make our world less fair, less equitable, are, first and foremost, things to be overcome by the heroic efforts of individuals. That's one lesson. Here's another. Vera Rubin never got her due. Her body of work heralded a sea change in her field on the scale of Copernicus's insight that the Earth and other planets in our solar system revolve around the sun. But she never received the Nobel Prize in Physics. Others advocated that she should. There was even some talk of a boycott by male scientists until she was properly recognized. That boycott never manifested at scale. This lesson is about how a lack of equity in the way that we relate to each other harms individuals, stifles their genius, and robs people with tremendous gifts of talent and hard work of the recognition that they deserve. Now, there are two more closely related lessons we could take here, centering the community's interests rather than the individual's. We can mourn what Vera Rubin and others like her might have accomplished had they not had so many barriers placed in their way. Imagine what else she might have discovered, what other gifts of knowledge she might have shared with the world if she did not have to spend so much time and energy working twice as hard to get half as far. Or, look at all that she did do and how much she managed to give to the world, being grateful for scientific insight and other contributions to the common good from people who are in some way or another marginalized or excluded, should make us want to pull down those barriers so that we can all benefit. We need each other and the best of each other in order to survive and to thrive. And so we need to refashion our world and our communities into ones in which all of us can flourish and grow. And there is even a fifth lesson here that I might point to, one which actually echoes something from Maria Mitchell's life. Remember that Unitarian astronomer from the 1800s that Vera credited as an inspiration to her. When Maria discovered her comet, it was mere months before the Seneca Falls Convention, calling for the social and political liberation of women in this country. Mitchell's scientific accomplishments were held up as one argument for the equality of women. Look what a woman has done. See what merit this suggests for the whole class of women. There is a feminist aphorism that women hold up half the sky. Well, now to answer the dry litany of scientific and geographic discoveries made by men, we might point out that, at least according to the best understanding of contemporary science, it was a woman who discovered 85% of the universe. I am not here to argue against you taking any of these lessons from Vera Rubin's story. They are all at least defensible based on the facts. I like any line of argument that might lead to more people acknowledging the full humanity of women, as I feel similarly about arguments for the full humanity of non-binary and queer folks, religious minorities, and the global majority of people who are not white, among other marginalized and disparaged groups. I agree that it is a thing worth mourning when a person's brilliance is trampled on, both for the harm it does to them and for the world's loss of what they might have done under better circumstances. And I also think that accomplishments are worth celebrating, especially more so when the barriers to them are higher. It is an impressive thing for Vera Rubin and a good thing for the world that she studied all that she studied, learned all that she learned, and shared all that she shared with us as a species. I want to pause for special attention to that lesson, that we need the benefits of each other's gifts, so we need to get out of the way of them with all of our biases and historical iniquities. As the writer and activist Adrienne Marie Brown says specifically about the diversity of justice organizing, everything is connected. The soil needs rain, organic matter, air, worms, and life in order to do what it needs to do, to give and receive life. Each element is an essential component. Organizing takes humility and selflessness and patience and rhythm, while our ultimate goal of liberation will take many expert relationships, components. Some of us build and fight for land, healthy bodies, healthy relationships, clean air, water, homes, safety, dignity, and humanizing education. Others of us fight for food and political prisoners and abolition and environmental justice. Our work is intersectional and multifaceted. Nature teaches us that our work has to be nuanced and steadfast. And more than anything, that we need each other in our highest natural glory in order to get free. So you can take any of those 5 lessons from Vera's story, or several, or all 5, and I won't be mad at you. But I don't want to leave this topic without saying this first. It doesn't matter. Let me be clear, I don't mean that the lessons don't matter. I'm glad if you internalize them. I mean that this is not any of these will help you get at the core issue here. That one of these 5 lessons, even all of them together, do not actually sufficiently explain why we should want things to be different in our world now than it was for Vera Rubin when she was coming up. Because it is not because in examining and dismantling the barriers it puts up to including and celebrating every single person as one of its component parts. It's not because that way things are better for the understanding of it, for outstanding individuals. It's not because that way things are better for the group as a whole. It's not even because the accomplishments of outstanding members of a maligned group demonstrates the fundamental value of everyone in that group as a whole. It's because we are, in truth, one body. The human species, the interwoven biome of the earth, the vast interconnected pattern of particles and waves that is the universe. Any structure of exclusion, any barrier to full belonging, hard or soft, denies this underlying reality of the existence that we share. Speaking specifically about the inclusion and celebration of queer folks in the congregation that she served, my esteemed colleague Victoria Safford said, "I will not speak of tolerance with its courteous clenched teeth and bitter resignation. I will not speak about acceptance of other people and some other kind of lifestyle. I can only look in laughing wonder at human life in all its incarnations. I can taste only in passing the breath of the Spirit of life on my mouth and understand our common longing to breathe in deep, deep gulps of it. I cannot think of being anybody else's ally even, because even that implies some degree of separation, some degree of safety for some of us, not all. We are allied with no one and with nothing but love, the larger love transcending all our understanding, within which all the difference, all the differing, gorgeously varying, variant, beautifully deviant aspects of ourselves are bound in elegant unity. As Victoria herself acknowledged, such a vision of reverent relationship to each other often feels like a distant dream, even at the micro scale of a single congregation, let alone at the macro level of society. But still, it persists. We are called together by it, this day especially, bound up as though by the dark matter which cannot be seen, but which nonetheless holds together distant galaxies and our own.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why, then why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't
I invite you into this time of giving and receiving, where we give freely and generously to this offering, which this week is dedicated entirely to our Partner Church program. Our Partner Church program connects us with the ethnically Hungarian village of Nagyajta in Romania, and the historic Unitarian congregation which is at the heart of that community. Through your gifts, we will be able to continue supporting scholarships for high school students in the village, as there is no high school in the village, and students must attend the boarding school for their area. Room and board can be prohibitive for many in the village, and so our financial support is a great relief to families in Nagyajta. Your gifts will also help us support the congregation's music program, as well as educational field trips for the children of the parish. There are multiple ways to share your gifts this morning. Baskets now being passed here in the auditorium for cash or checks, or as you can see on the screen, you can donate directly from our website, fusmadison.org. You will also find our text to give information there as well. We thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we create together.
Thank you, all of you, for this beautiful music this morning. Each week we gather, carrying in our hearts the joys and losses of our days. We hold our own pain and celebration together with those of the ones we love. We share these here, knowing that they are held gently in care, in support, and in love. We light a candle for Elizabeth Barrett's mother, who fell and broke her kneecap earlier this week. We send our best wishes for swift and complete healing and for the easing of pain. We light a candle of grief for the loss and joy for the life of Jim Jager, who died this past week. Jim was a deeply committed member of this congregation for many, many years, serving in innumerable ways, up to and including as president. He was also a minister and hospice chaplain who shared his gifts of spiritual companionship freely with our community. Our thoughts are with his children, the rest of his family and dear ones, and all those who knew Jim. He will be sorely missed, A celebration of his life will be held here at FUS on June 22nd. More details will follow soon. Teresa Kaufman asks us to light a candle of joy, sharing that the refugee family the Four Lakes Welcome Corps sponsored has passed their 2-month anniversary in this country and is living comfortably in their permanent housing. Many people at FUS helped make this happen. Thank you. Now, on to our next family. We light a candle for all those who feel isolated by grief, by chronic pain, by mental illness, and all others who are alone and lonely. To you we extend our compassionate hearts. We light a candle of ongoing lament for the violence which plagues our world. Fervently we yearn for peace here at home and around the globe. And we light a candle for all those joys and sorrows, hopes and dreams that remain unspoken in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. Both the candles which we light each week and the gathering of flowers we assemble each year are emblematic of the many gifts of religious community. So now we close our caring practice with the completion of the flower communion. You entered this place with a flower and brought it forward to share, to contribute to this explosion of intermingled beauty. Now we process again to select a new flower to take with us from this place. Please come forward now. Remember that the flower you hold in your hand is a gift of a friend, brought in good faith to this community, and a reminder of the history we inherit as we walk the paths of our spiritual journey. May these earthly symbols remind us of a deeper truth, that in the days of our joys and the days of our struggles, we are never truly alone. Amen.
There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all we rest in His love. And now let's rise in body, spirit, and flowers to sing our closing hymn, number 305, De Colores. We'll sing verses 1 and 2. I'm going to sing verse 1 in English, and that's what's projected. If you want to sing verse 1 in Spanish, it's in your hymnal, or if you know it by heart, go on ahead. All the colors, yes, the colors we see in the springtime with all of its flowers. All the colors, when the sunlight shines out through a rift in the cloud and it showers. All the colors, as a rainbow appears when a storm cloud is touched by the sun. All the colors abound for the world around and for everyone under the sun. All the colors, yes, the colors of people parading on by with their banners. All the colors, yes, the colors of planets and streamers and blooms and bandanas. All the colors, yes, the colors of people now taking their place in the sun. All the colors abound for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun.
Go in peace, for the arc of the universe is long, and we can bend it toward justice. Go in courage, for together we have the strength to confront injustice in our daily lives and the larger world. Go in love, because a holy and generous love is both the reason and the means by which we transform our lives. Blessed be. Go in peace, and please be at rest for the post.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Lord, we don't need another mountain. There are mountains and hillsides enough to climb. There are oceans and rivers enough to cross, enough to last till the end of time. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of what the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Oh, we don't need another meadow. There are cornfields and wheat fields enough to grow. There are sunbeams and moonbeams enough to shine. But if you what the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. No, not just for some.